everyone, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Keisha and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I hope to read in the month of August. It has been one crazy summer and I think that I'm finally ready to start transitioning into fall. Even though August is still in summer, I think I'm going to have some summer books that I want to read this month and some more fall spooky books that I want to read. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. The first book that I want to talk about is one that I am currently reading in July, but just in case I don't finish it, I wanted to go ahead and add it to this TBR as well, and that is Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This is an arc. The book doesn't come out, I believe, until like August 30th or sometime at the end of August. But I did receive this arc from a Goodreads giveaway, so thank you to Flatiron Books, to Alice Feeney, and to Goodreads for making it possible for me to get this early and read it before the release date. I have already started it, but I'm not too far in. But this is a story about a girl who is going to her Nana's 80th birthday party, and when she gets there, her Nana lives on this island where when the tide rises, you can't, I think it's when the tide rises, you can't get out for like 8 hours. It's cut off from the rest of the world. And her family are here for her Nana's 80th birthday, and something happens and her Nana ends up getting murdered and they're trying to figure out who did it. So this is very much an Agatha Christie-esque type story, like And Then There Were None. And I know that is a tall order to fill, so hopefully this will do it justice. Not that I would know because I still haven't read And Then There Were None, but one of these days. Anyway, so I'm really enjoying this so far. I really like Alice Feeney. She has kind of been a hit or miss author for me so far, but one of my favorite books is Sometimes I Lie by her, and so I'm really hoping that I enjoy this one as well. Along the same vein of mysteries and thrillers, I also have The Mother-in-Law by Sally Hepworth, and I'm planning to buddy read this one with my friend Elizabeth from Ponytails and Paperbacks. She introduced me to The Good Sister, and that was a 5-star read for me. I really loved that story. I love the characters, and I'm very interested in picking up another book from Sally Hepworth. So I decided that I wanted to pick up The Mother-in-Law. She hasn't read it yet either, and so we decided to go ahead and do a buddy read. If I can remember correctly, it is about this girl whose mother-in-law has never really liked her. She's like friendly with her and polite with her, but she's not really the picturesque wife that she envisioned that her son would marry. And she's kind of like, the mother-in-law is this woman who is very, I don't know if like high society is the right word, but she's very well known in the community, very involved. And so she has, I guess, like higher expectations than she should have for her daughter-in-law. And so what ends up happening is that the mother-in-law, 5 years later, I think it might have a jump in timeline, I'm not sure, but the mother-in-law ends up turning up dead, and she leaves a suicide note saying that the reason she killed herself was because of cancer. But then they like do an autopsy and there's no cancer, and it looks like she might have been poisoned. So now we're kind of doing a deep dive into the past of the mother-in-law and of the daughter-in-law, obviously, because their relationship wasn't good, and just trying to figure out what happened and why she left her kids and their significant others out of her will last minute. So that just sounds like a wild ride. I'm hoping that it's a book that's not too predictable for me. The Good Sister wasn't, I mean, it was kind of predictable, but it was like a really good story, and I still really enjoyed it and gave it 5 stars. So I'm hoping that this one will be the same, but I'm very much looking forward to checking out another book from Sally Hepworth. I did mention that I'm still kind of like, I'm in a transitional stage where I have some summer books that I want to finish up, but I also want to start getting into fall spooky books because I know that season is going to come and go like way too quickly. So I want to make sure that I have plenty of time to read those books. But to finish out the summer months, I do have a couple more summer romances that I would like to get to. I feel like I've been in a romance mood lately. I don't know if I still am, but just in case, I wanted to add these to my TBR. And also, if I didn't mention this already before, I may not get to all these books, but these are just books that I'm kind of feeling right now. So the first romance, I'm pretty sure, has been on my TBR for the last 3 months, and I still haven't gotten to it. So this is my last chance this year to read this book, and that is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I won't go into too much detail about this because I've already explained the synopsis several times on my channel already, but if you don't know, this is a book that is an enemies to lovers story, and it is about this girl who's, I think it's her best friend or her sister, it's her twin. Okay, so she's getting married, and like, she is not friends with her sister's like husband's best man. Like they don't like each other, they're enemies. But she's the maid of honor and he's the best man. And so now they're in a situation where the whole wedding party gets food poisoning and the bride and groom are not able to go on their honeymoon. So the best man and the maid of honor, the main character, have to go on the honeymoon to like not let it go to waste. And they're trying to see if they can enjoy this nice honeymoon even though they don't like each other. And it's not their honeymoon, it's just a vacation for them. But I think it's going to be enemies to lovers and they'll fall in love or something of that sort. But I do tend to enjoy Christina Lauren, so I'm hoping that this one will be a good one for me as well. And then this book has also been on my TBR, I'm pretty sure, all summer, and that is You Have a Match by Emma Lord. This is a young adult romance, and I feel like I might be a little bit more inclined to like this one than I would adult romances, just because I find that when I read YA romances, there's not as much smut, but there might be a little bit of steam, and I can do steam, but I don't like a lot of smut. So I'm hoping that this will be more of a cute romance. I just hope it doesn't have too much angst in it. I need a good balance of teen angst and like steaminess, but not smut. So we'll see if this turns out for me. But this is one that kind of reminds me of The Parent Trap, even though it's not really The Parent Trap. But it's about this girl named Abby who signs up for a DNA test. She finds out that she has this long lost sister, and the sister is like this like Instagram star, and they both end up going to this summer camp, and the main character's crush is also at this summer camp. So it's like she's meeting her sister and getting to know each other, but then also there is a boy that comes in the mix, and I have a feeling like if the main character has a crush on him, then the sister's probably going to get a crush on him, and it's going to be this huge ordeal. So we'll see, but I don't know, it just sounded really cute with the whole summer camp and sisters that didn't know the other one existed dynamic, because I love The Parent Trap, so I'm really hoping that I enjoy this one too. Next up, I have a couple of middle grade books. The first one I don't have with me yet because it is a pre-order, but I think it comes out on August 2nd, and that one is Grave Books by J.A. White, which is actually the sequel to Night Books, which I read a couple of years ago and really enjoyed. So this is Night Books, and I'm going to tell you about this one because I don't want to spoil Grave Books. So what Night Books is about is we have our main character, Alex, and Alex sneaks out in the middle of the night and ends up being captured by the witch Natasha. And it's kind of like a story where she uses like Hansel and Gretel type deals to lure him in to her house and ends up keeping him there. He can't get out. He finds a friend there named Yasmin or Yasmin, and they end up becoming friends. There's also a cat named Lenore that comes into play here. And essentially what Alex has to do is, in order to stay alive in Natasha's lair, he has to read her one of his stories or night books every night to kind of appease her. And so he has to continuously write these stories. It kind of has an Arabian Nights type of feel because I think it is loosely based off of that story. So that is essentially it. It is a spooky middle grade book, and I had no idea there was going to be a sequel until earlier this year, and I'm so excited to read Grave Books and figure out what kind of like creepy messes that Alex is going to get into next. Then I have another spooky middle grade book, so this is where you can kind of see the transition into fall. This is Shadow School Archimancy by J.A. White. This is a book that I have owned for a couple of years also, and it's one that I've really been interested in getting into. It is a series, and I kind of just want to know if this is one I'm going to enjoy or not. I don't really remember a lot about it except that it's about this girl who goes to this new boarding school, and she finds out that there are ghosts there, and she and I believe maybe one or two other people can see these ghosts, and they're trying to figure out why the ghosts are trapped here and what is going on, if the school has a more sinister plot than what it seems. So I'm very excited to get to this one. This is a book that I've been excited about, like I said, for a long time, and it's also one that's just really pretty because not only do you have this stunning cover, but under the dust jacket you can see all of the ghosts, and it wraps all the way around, but you can see all the ghosts that are in Shadow School. So very excited to get to this one. Then my middle grade book club is starting back up in August. So for those of you who may be new here, I do host a middle grade book club with a few 8 to 12-year-olds in my area. And I allow them to pick one book out of a selection that I give to them. And so they kind of pick their book for each month. And in August, they chose The Land of Roar by Jenny McLaughlin. This is the first book in, I believe, a trilogy fantasy series that I have been really interested in for a while now. So I'm so glad that they picked this one out. It has a really beautiful cover, and there's just so many good things to say about this book, especially in how it looks. It's just very well illustrated. I'm not sure, there's not, yeah, well, there's a pretty spine. I was going to say there's not anything under the dust jacket, but there is a pretty spine. It also has a map, which I think like all of you fantasy lovers out there appreciate a good map. So this is a story about Arthur and Rose Trout, and when they were little, they were the heroes of Roar, and Roar was this imaginary land that they traveled to a lot as kids. As they got older, they obviously did not visit Roar as much, but then one day their grandfather disappears, and they believe that the villain from the land of Roar has captured their grandfather. So now it's up to them to go back to the land of Roar and rescue him. So I'm very excited to read this one. Like I said, it just looks like it's going to be really good. I've heard good things about this one, so I'm excited to experience this with my middle grade book club kiddos and see what they think too. Then I have a few, I think they're all YA horror books, or at least almost horror if they're not horror. So I don't always love YA, but these are all ones that I'm really interested in, so we're gonna see if I like them. But the first one has been on my TBR again, I think for a month or two, so we're gonna bring it back around and maybe I'll get to it this month. And that book is House of Holo by Crystal Sutherland. I'm really excited to get to this one, as I am all the books here, but I don't know, there's just something that really draws me to this one. The cover draws me, the fact that it's short draws me, and the synopsis is really interesting. This follows Iris Holo and her two older sisters. They are really strange, and they disappeared on this Scottish city street only to return a month later with no memory of where they had been, and they were a little bit different and troubling in their appearance. Their blue eyes were now black, their dark hair now white, and they just kind of kept getting odder and eerier as they aged. Now, Iris is 17 years old and she is doing all she can to fit in, but then her sister Gray goes missing, and so now it's up to her and her other sister Vivi to kind of figure out what happened, and it allows them to also go back and explore what happened to them all these years ago. So I don't really know. It sounds very ominous and eerie and potentially confusing because I have no idea where this is going to go, but I'm very intrigued by it. I've really been enjoying horror this year, so hopefully I can get into some YA horror as well. I have read one that I can remember off the top of my head, and that was Horrid by Katrina Leno, and that was a phenomenal book, so hopefully this will be another winner for me too. Then I have a book that I have not heard a lot of people talk about, but I still am really interested in it, and I hope that I love it, but we shall see. That one is Don't Tell a Soul by Kirsten Miller. This is a book that I've hauled in the past couple of months, and I've really just been interested in reading this one. It is about a girl named Bram. She ends up going to, I think it's her uncle's old mansion that is supposedly haunted by ghosts of women. It's like all these different women die there and their ghosts end up staying there, and they call them the Dead Girls. So I think Bram is trying to kind of figure out the mansion's haunted past, the city's haunted past, and just kind of figure out why these women's ghosts seem to stick around. Then I have Rules for Vanishing by Kate Alice Marshall. Again, this has been a book that has appeared on multiple TBRs. This is one that is a 5-star prediction for me for this year, so I'm hoping that that will pan out. This one says, once a year, a road appears in the forest, and at the end of it, the ghost of Lucy Gallows beckons. Lucy's game isn't for the faint of heart. If you win, you escape with your life. But if you lose, dun dun dun. I don't know what happens if you lose. It literally has an ellipsis. So, who knows? I have to read it to find out. But one girl's sister, I think, ends up going down Lucy Gallows Road and disappears. So now this girl and her friends, I think, are going to try to go and save her. Sounds really good. So again, hopefully this will be one that I enjoy, and I really hope that it ends up being 5 stars. And the last book that I have today is going to be The Waking Forest by Alyssa Weiss. This is more of a dark fantasy, but it is short. And you guys know, I don't know if I like fantasy or not, but if I like it, I'm probably gonna like a short one. I really don't remember what this one's about because it's been a while since I picked this one up. I just saw it on my shelves, and I knew that this was one I wanted to get to this year because it's kind of been staring at me for a while. So I'm just going to go ahead and read the synopsis. And it says, the waking forest has secrets. To Ray, it appears like a mirage. Dark and dense at the very edge of her backyard, but when she reaches out to touch it, the forest vanishes. She's desperate to know more until she finds a peculiar boy who offers to reveal its secrets, if she plays a game. To the witch, the forest is home, where she sits on her throne of carved bone, waiting for dreaming children to beg her to grant their wishes. One night, a mysterious visitor arrives and asks her what she wishes for. But the witch sends him away, and then the uninvited guest returns. The strangers are just the beginning. Something is stirring in the forest, and when Ray's and the witch's paths collide, a truth more treacherous and deadly than either could ever imagine surfaces. But how much are they willing to risk to survive? This sounds like a really good story. Now, I don't know with it being shorter, with me not having heard a lot about it, if this is gonna pan out for me or not, but it Sounds like a really good story, so hopefully it will also be one that I enjoy. I feel like I end all of these with the same, like, I hope I enjoy this, but I mean, obviously, I'm very excited about all of these. I really hope that I enjoy all of these. So that is going to be the last book on my kind of possibility pile, I guess you could say, because I don't know that I'm going to get to all of these books. I don't know if this is a solid TBR or not, but this is just kind of books that I have really been feeling a draw to lately. So I'm hoping to at least read most of these books. But that's going to be it for my video today. If you have read any of these books, let me know down in the comments what you thought of them and if you think I'll enjoy them, because I'm just really curious to know, but please no spoilers. And also let me know what is one book that you are really excited to read in August. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, friends.